Okay, musicians, today we're going to talk about the saxophone. There's a couple different types of saxophones that we have in our bands. And if you learn to play one, you can learn to play them all. I'll start off with showing you the alto saxophone. This is our main saxophone that we play. And it's a woodwind instrument, so what it does is I have this reed right here. And when I blow on it, this reed vibrates and sends the sound down through this tube. Now when I press the keys, it's going to change the length of the tube, and that's going to change the sound. It also has an octave key where right here, where if I press it, it's going to make all the notes go higher by 1 octave. So let's listen to what it sounds like. Okay, a nice sound. This is sort of our mid to upper range saxophone. There's one saxophone that we use that's smaller than this. That's a soprano saxophone. I'm not going to show that to you today, but understand it exists. This instrument is very common in band music and jazz music, and it's even in orchestral music. It's one of the newer instruments that we have in our band, and it was invented by a man named Adolphe Sax, and that's why we call it the saxophone. It was originally designed to be basically the power of a brass instrument, but with the agility of a woodwind instrument. And there's some early precursor saxophones that are pretty cool. I will show you saxophone players a video of that, of historical saxophones. But the cool thing about these saxophones is they're all the same key setup, and you read them all the same. So when you learn to press keys for different notes, that's going to be the same note that we read. Okay, here's a tenor saxophone. It's our mid to low range saxophone. These instruments, they're pretty agile. You can play them fast. Oh. But you can also play them long and powerfully. They're really cool. In the band, the roles that they serve, the alto saxophone is generally, it'll play melody and harmony and accompaniment. It basically does everything. It's a jack of all trades type instrument. The tenor saxophone, generally, it'll play melodies. It'll support brass. It also does everything, but it does a little more of a backup role. And this one, the bari sax, right here, our biggest saxophone that we play in the band. Now, there are bigger saxophones, but this one, let me get this reed wet first. This one is primarily doubling tuba parts or low baritone parts. It's a little more of a support role, but it's really fun to play, especially in a jazz band. And all these saxophones can be played in a jazz band along with trumpets, etc. So they're really versatile, cool instruments. You can play them in rock bands. I really enjoy the saxophone. I played it when I was in 6th grade. And let's just hear what the bari sax sounds like. And again, they all work by making a reed vibrate, sending sound down the tube, and pressing a button to change it. And this one can go pretty low. Let me adjust my neck for this. There it is. Okay. So let's see how low we can take this. Pretty low, and it can also play high. So that's the baritone saxophone, the tenor saxophone, and the alto saxophone. The saxophone family, if you learn to play the alto, you could play the tenor or you could play the bari. Usually we start off on the alto, sometimes we start off on the tenor. The bari we reserve more for advanced students, and you can eventually switch to that if you're interested in the saxophone.